reason as to why I started with this. And hello, yeah. So, precisely this word, masochism. Is anyone aware of as to what it means and what all different meanings it has? So, according to Oxford Dictionary, it has two meanings, and I'll let you know. The first is tendency to derive sexual gratification from one's own pain or humiliation, and the other one is the enjoyment of an activity that appears to be painful or tedious. So for me, I truly relate to the second definition of the word. First one I'm not sure, so I'm still looking at it. Let's not get there. So, about this. So, I'll start off with my experience and how I got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But before that, by a show of hands, how many people think that martial arts can be really aggressive? People are beating each other to death. They're fighting for blood. By a show of hands. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you do. I used to think that way earlier, and that entire myth for me has been broken now just because I've been practicing it and seeing how it works for me. So how I got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the story goes back to me working out in the gym, putting my sweat in the gym, working on my physical body itself, but there was nothing that was intriguing my mind. So I tried to look for a way where my synergies of the both mind and body come into contact. So martial art did that for me. And another main aspect of learning martial arts was deriving pleasure from pain. So I've talked about this earlier and how masochism relates to me, and how you derive pleasure from pain when you start losing. So the first class I attended, I knew nothing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is a ground martial arts, and I was beaten down to the ground by smaller, more lighter opponents, and that made me realize that it's not just the power that you might have, the strength that might you have, it's about the skills that you have gathered over years, and the experience you've had by fighting people. So one aspect would be that. Then comes the meditative state that you get into. So it's all about getting into that zone and seeing what works for you best. So I would say, after every class of BJJ, I used to be dead on the floor, lying down, gasping for air, but that sort of a feeling is nothing I would compare to something else. So that feeling is what made me go back to this mats again and again and start learning with my friends. And one important aspect of BJJ is when you step on the mats, you keep your ego aside. You can't have egos and aggression going hand in hand. You'll only have injuries when that happens. Another major aspect would be channelizing your negative energy and your aggression into something that's more positive and something that's more serene. So again, I was a person who used to be short-tempered, who used to be, say, at the drop of a hat, I used to lose my temper, but now I feel more calm and composed, and it's all about maintaining that composure. So, as this picture would state, the guy is sitting on a medicine ball. He's sitting and practicing his composure. It's all about maintaining your posture, how you interact with your body and your mind. So again, a lot of you showed up your hands when I said it might be aggressive, but ironical to its nature, popular belief, it's basically what my instructor used to call it, poetry in motion. So when you see Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artists move, so this is one of the techniques. So we go down and come up, and it's almost like you're performing a sort of a dance form. So when that happens, you're not forcing your body you're not putting as much effort. So the entire aim is to establish maximum impact, least effort. So this is where we used to function, and this is where we wanted to function, because otherwise you're gonna gas out in 2 minutes. There's no way you're going farther ahead. So breaking it all down. Now it might seem that how can you put least effort and maximum and get the maximum return. So imagine you have a major problem, say a major relationship problem or a financial problem, and it scares the shit out of you. But what you can do is focus on the smaller parts of the problem. So if you're fighting say a taller guy or heavier guy, you don't have to focus on the entire person itself, you focus on the weaker parts of that person. So even in this image itself, you might see that the guy in the left, he's 100 pounds lighter than the other guy. But in the next photo you see he's focusing on just the elbow. Now the entire force of his body is focusing on his entire hand. Now, however strong you might be, but you're not going to be able to resist my entire body's force on your arm. So this is what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is all about. And if you can apply these things in your life itself, so if you just break down problems into smaller, more manageable parts, it's going to change the way you look at problems and your world itself. And again, so 4 important elements of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, what has been taught to me and what I try to send forward is defend, escape, control and submit. If you know these 4 things perfectly and if you manage to do them, you will never get hurt as much. And one important way to win a fight is what my teacher told me. One important way to win a fight is to avoid a fight. Whenever you can avoid a fight, avoid a fight. So, yeah. So there was supposed to be a background music for this. Anyway, so this is what a usual Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu attire is.
ये दोनों स्क्रूज लूज कर लें, ये वाला और उसका हाथ से इसको पकड़ के रखें, लूज रख दोनों को क्योंकि he'll be moving a lot.
And there are 2 types of attires in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. One is the no-gi, where you don't wear an entire formal gear. The other one is a gi, which you might have seen in the first video, in the first slide itself. Now I'd like to call upon our volunteer. A special thanks to her and a huge round of applause for Ashoka. And now we're just gonna go through a bit of the basics of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and what it means to us. So, any particular fighting situation, you might find yourself in a position like this, standing face to face, aggression going on, veins are pumping, everything is hot. Now, it's possible for her to punch me. She can hit me. Can you punch me while you're standing there? Exactly. Can you punch me like this?
I can, but no power.
No power. Exactly. So, the entire concept of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to manage your distance. If you can run away from the fight, please run away from the fight. If you can't, stay close to the person, try to manage the distance. If you don't have the punching power, you immobilize the person. Now let's start with a couple of things that, say if you find yourself in a position that lands you on the ground and you're fighting with an opponent. See, you end up in a position like this and your opponent is punching you from the ground. What you can do, I'm not saying that it's going to be as easy, you need practice for this, but what can be done is, you can lock my hips down. So now you have control over my hips. From here you can keep moving me. So she can move me all around. She has control over my center of gravity. So what can be done? From a disadvantageous position like this, for her, she can come to an advantageous position. Right? So, over a month I would say. So it's not that difficult, you just need practice. Another common situation, I shouldn't say common, but this is how the state of India is right now. Especially for girls, you might find yourself in a compromising position like this, being forced or whatever. And this is a touchy situation, but we have to talk this out. So remember when we said that it doesn't matter how strong you are or how big you are, it matters how you're controlling your body and how you're managing the distance and how you're taking the fight. So even in a situation like this, you can still find a way around it and get out of it. So imagine when you are in a situation like this, get control of my hips again. From here what you can do is control my hands.
At least ले रहा है.
See the red face? My blood I was almost getting a concussion. 10-15 seconds of pressure like this, I'm going to pass out. And it's something that she did, and it's all her legs, her hands. So all you need to realize is, it's not the body weight that we're looking at, we're looking to isolate the body parts of a person. So that is the entire concept of BJJ, and that is what I am hooked towards. So back to our... So I'll just wrap it up pretty quickly. So my personal learnings from this has been to remain calm and composed even in adverse situations. You saw Shweta being calm and composed in that situation and trying to get a better position and running away from there. So this is what you can apply in your life as well. And it has shaped me as an individual because now I see bigger problems and break it down into smaller problems. So taking an example of my last week's marathon run, I ran a half marathon which is 21 kilometers. For people it might sound like 21 kilometers, 21,000 meters, but for me it's all about 210 into 100 meter races. So for me I just run 100 meter races 210 times. So it breaks down perspective, changes the perspective for me. So if you can learn and apply that in your life, that can be done. And my entire takeaway from this talk, forget everything I talked about. If you can just keep this in mind and go out and search for your own medium of meditation. If you can do that, my job here is done. And again, another thing would be paying attention to the interactions between your mind and your body. It's very important how we take those synergies and form a place or a structure that keeps us sane, keeps us energetic. So if you can do that, that's more than enough. So as we do it in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community, we pay respect to each other by doing Os. So if everyone can join me and like this and say Os. 1, 2, 3. Os. Nice.